material development. It is part of the curriculum development. The information will be from the book Curriculum Development in Language Teaching by Richards. We'll discuss some points about course planning and syllabus design. There are different levels of planning and development of curriculum and materials. And also for a course, when you try to develop a course, there is also some instructional materials that you will use for teaching. You have to think about the aims and objectives of the language program that you are in. So today we'll discuss some points regarding how you develop a course rationale. You describe the levels, the entry or exit levels for the students and the course. You will choose and select the course content, how you will order and sequence the course content, how you will plan the course content, the syllabus, the instructional blocks, the materials, what are the divisions, and how you will prepare your plan with the scope and sequence or order. So we'll start off how you develop a course rationale, the reason for a course or the objectives. So the rationale is the starting point. Before you develop a course, you try to describe and state what is the reason for developing this course and the objectives. So you will discuss and you will think about those questions, like the course will be for whom, the learners or the students, about what will be the topics, the content, what will be the kind of teaching, what are the methodologies, where the course will be conducted. For example, if it is online, it will be different than if it is in a university or in school. Yeah. So through this, we will think about what are the beliefs, the values, and the goals that underlie that course. So there are different purposes you have to think about, like how you will plan and guide that plan with different components of the course. What are the teaching methodologies that you will use? When you have the content or the component of the course and the terms and the goals, the values, you have to think about the consistency. Is it in order? Is it consistent or not? So here can be an example of the objectives or the rationale of a course. Okay. So the goal of the course is always important to start with. Now we'll discuss how you describe the entry and the exit levels. So you will think about, okay, this course, what is the starting level, especially with the students, and at the end of the course, what are the outcomes and the expected outcomes for the students to achieve at the end of the course. So it is in the syllabus, for example, when we have what? The course outcomes or the achievement and the performance from the testing and all that. So let's say, especially if it is like, commercial like materials and language program, you think about the levels like elementary, intermediate, advanced levels. That's for like, teaching English, for example. And this is like, a broad level. But if you want to go deep in details and you describe more, so you have to think about what is the student proficiency levels before they start the program. So for example, you can do that, for example, if you have like, TOEFL or IELTS test before they start. So through this, you determine the student language skills. And also now, for example, here we have the MSAT in the UAE, and also other like, tests based on what kind of the language or the course or the program you want. You can make like pre-test before they, or we call it the entry test, before they enter the course or the class or the, if it is a program, it depends. So here we have an example. We have, for example, Australian migrant education program. When they arrive, so they have different proficiency levels and they have rating. So this what as an example, they have macro skills and they try to develop that. Okay. So this stage is how you choose the course content. So usually when you decide to choose the course content, usually it reflects the planner assumption or beliefs and philosophies about a language. So thinking about what is the nature of the language, how they will use the language, what about the language learning, language teaching. So all these kind of elements about the units, how they will organize it and all that. So that will be affected when you choose the content. So here, for example, there are some types of content. So this can be an example. Let's say if you want to focus on a grammar or function or topics or skills or text or processes. So it depends. The focus will be on what? For example, if you are teaching a speaking course, so you'll focus on what? Topics or function or interaction skills. So it depends on your focus. So when you select a content, you might think about the subject will be about what? You'll think about the proficiency level of the student. You'll think about the current of how you teach the language course, and also what are the new views of language learning. You think about the conventional wisdom and the convenience. Like for example, let's say now we have the coronavirus pandemic, okay? And you said that, you have a course, you create a course, and in that course, you mentioned that, you want real interaction between, let's say, the students and native speakers. But in this time, you cannot do this, yeah? So you can change it to, let's say, online interaction, so they can learn the language. So that's what you have to do to be more convenient, yeah? So as we mentioned before, we have to do need analysis, yeah? So you can do also, you start like, reading about the topic. You try to find published materials about the topic because, even now, teaching, for example, English, you have many materials to do that. So you can have those materials. You can go and check other courses who's teaching the same topics, and you can, review it and have what, compare it and take whatever that fit your course. You can check the test, the exams. You try to analyze the students' problems. You consult with teachers who are familiar with the topic. You consult with the specialists. So you do this, and that helps you also when you gather the need analysis. Okay? So again, when you do the need analysis and you try to plan the content of the course, so you can do this from previous studies, from previous published materials, from similar courses, the test, exams. You check some students' problems. You go and consult with teacher and consult with a specialist. So how you plan it? How you plan the material and the course and the language curriculum. So you can do it through group brainstorming. So as a group, maybe with the specialists or teachers, you brainstorm what the ideas you might use. You will start generating what are the topics, what are the units, what are the skills that you want to teach the students, and then you organize as a course. You add more ideas. You try to agree about the content, and you try to connect the content with the aim and objective of the course. Here you have the examples with a group of the teachers and the list they start to work on to design a course for listening and speaking for intermediate level students. Okay, so this and the example. So when you think about the topics, you have to think, does those topics are necessarily important? Can we delete or omit some of not important topics? Do we have the time to cover all this topic? So you think about that as the content of the course, and you think about the type of the syllabus and the framework for your syllabus. So this stage, you will determine the scope and the sequence. So as the sequence of the content, so you will state what will be at the beginning and then at the end and in the middle. So you can start with the simple to more complex and complicated. You will think about what is the need, and you think about the chronology, the order and the sequence from simple to complex. So what do we mean by chronology? Yes? So what do we mean by chronology here? Yes, students? Okay, Salama, the arrangement of events by time. Latifa, arrangement of events or dates in order of their occurrence. Arrangements of plans. Maryam, the order in which a series of events happens. Okay. Where is Fatma? Yes, Fatma? So yeah, it's the same as you said. It's the event with the time. Okay. So when you think from simple to complex as a content, so that's mean you think about the difficulty levels. So you start with the simplified at the beginning. Chronology, so you think about the content, it is sequence according to the order in which events occur in the real world. So if you have, let's say, writing course, so the sequence you start with the brainstorming, drafting, revising, editing. If you have here an example of proficiency course, so you think about listening, speaking, reading, and then the writing. You think about the need. So it depends on, let's say, the students outside the classroom, they need the language for what? What is important for their lives? Is it for communication or health or? Okay, so here you have example. If you teach them literacy skills, so you teach them about these topics. Let's say, for example, like these days about the coronavirus, you might teach them about what? About health issues, yeah? Okay, Fatma, so what does it mean, literacy? Fatma, literacy skills? So the literacy skills, like in general, is what? The writing and the reading skills. Okay, Mariam. Okay, Fatma. We have to think about prerequisite learning. When you think about the sequence or the order of the content, we think about, we start with what? As a foundation for the next step in the learning process. So for example, now in your program, you have some courses as prerequisites. You have to take it before you take some other courses. So sometimes, for example, if you want to learn how to write a paragraph, so sometimes as a prerequisite, you start to learn about the grammar, vocabularies, and all that. We have a term we call it whole to part or part to whole. So we think about the material, the beginning, overall structure or organization of a topic before considering the individual components that makes it up. So as example, a student might read short story and react to them as whole text before going on to consider what the elements are that constitute an effective short story. Or a student might study how to write paragraphs before going to practice putting paragraphs together to make an essay. Okay, so did you understand what do you mean by whole to part and then part to whole as material? Okay. So you can start, let's say, as this example, you start with the whole story and then you go deep as elements, or the opposite, you start with the elements and then you connect as a whole story. We have kind of sequences, and we had explained that term last class. It's called spiral sequences. So what do you mean by spiral or cyclical sequences? Yes, spiral sequences. What does that mean? Yes, you try kind of repetition. So it's like, kind of recycling. Yeah, you can go back again and explain and teach it many, many times. Okay, so it depends. Okay, it's like a cycle or spiral. Okay, so how you will plan the course structure? Okay. So now you will have your course. You try to map your course structure into a form and sequence that provide a suitable basis for teaching. So the sequences help you in the teaching. So there are two aspects of this process. You try to select a syllabus framework, and then you develop instructional blocks. What are the steps or the section for your content? So what do you mean by the syllabus framework? The syllabus, as we explained before, it is the what? The elements or the content, and you have a plan for that course. It gives you the basis for the instructional focus and content. So an example, when you plan a course, let's say on speaking, so you will have the course content. As section, you title it, you describe the entry and exit level, and then you have a number of options are available. So for your syllabus, you have the course objectives, you have the the topic and the contents will be in order, in a sequence. And then also you have the materials, you have the teaching methodologies, the assessment, if you have for the assessment like, rubrics, criterions, and then you have also what will be the assessment methods. So the syllabus and the framework and what type of syllabus can be as situational, from the word situation, the way you organize it. It can be as topics, so it's based on topics. It can be based on task, so it's what? As task. So what do we mean by situational? So it's organized about different situations, and the oral skills needed in these situations. For example, you will teach a speaking class, so your syllabus will be regarding what kind of situation. Let's say if you have about health situations as the pandemic situation with the coronavirus, so you'll have this as a topic, okay? And then let's say you have regarding the online learning or online training or working online. So maybe you have a topic about that is connected with what? With the situation and how you do it, and with technology, what kind of programs you might use and all that, okay? So that what is your syllabus is organized based on situation. Based on topics, it's easy. It will be what are the topics that you will use, okay? You will talk about and how you will talk about. If we have the functional, so it will be organized based on the functions that you might use in speaking. Let's say you have some grammatical points, and those functional grammar use it in speaking, let's say in regarding about scientific topic, for example, let's say about cancer, cure, treatment, okay? So that's regarding what a function, like what type of that speaker or that grammar you will use it for which function, okay? If it is task, so your syllabus will be based on different tasks, activities, and how the student will carry out that through that particular syllabus. So you will create your syllabus based on whatever type you want. Is it as situations or as topics? Or as task? The planners who plan for the curriculum and the materials can be affected by their beliefs about the subject area, by research and theory, by the practices, and by the trends. So the knowledge and beliefs about the subject, you remember when we mentioned the philosophies and all that? And also, for example, if it is for language, for speaking, writing, reading, listening, these skills, so they have to think about the nature of those skills. So the syllabus will be affected by that. By research and theory, because they have to go through theories about how they teach the language, how they can use the language. So all will be related. The type of the syllabus and the proposals for that will be affected by what we call the applied linguistic theories. And we already took some courses real about what applied linguistics. The planner, they think about what are the common practices. We mentioned some practices from earlier until now to more modern. Like for example, now the practice is more to online. Previously, it were like more to maybe naturalistic with communication, and they can use different aspects. When we think about trends, even when we have in the social media and in the news, we have the trending topics. Like these days, it's all the topics about coronavirus and all that. So we think about national level, international level. What are the trends in the syllabus design? Okay. Did you understand those factors? Okay. If we think about a syllabus, it's like communicative syllabus. So that means the purpose of that syllabus is what? You will use it for communication, for speaking. So even for this, you might think about general language course, or maybe a course for like English for specific purposes. English for specific purposes, the ESP. I'm sure you have taken all these courses. For example, if you are from science college or IT college, that course, the ESP, is different for a student from English department or from applied linguistics or general linguistics or humanities and social sciences college and education. So it depends, okay? You want to use the language for what? Communicated in what? In medical context, or in a humanity and social context, or other contexts, okay? So even with the communicative syllabus, you think about the framework. Like, for example, you will focus on competency, or is it the text or the task? So we'll create the syllabus based on task or text. So you'll have text, and through the text you will learn and teach. Or you'll think about the level and proficiency and the performance of the students. Okay, so it depends on how you will develop your syllabus. If we think about syllabus that related to the grammar or the structure, so usually that syllabus is focused on grammatical items, and usually it's for entry level, beginning level learners. And even you have a sequence for the grammatical points from easy, simple to more difficult to more complex and complicated. And you will think about, okay, if they produce that grammar, how they will do it with the communicative skills. So this can be an example of a syllabus. So when we think about the choice and sequence of the grammatical items in a grammar syllabus, you think about the intrinsic ease, from easy to difficult. You think about what is the difficulty of those grammatical items. You will think about, okay, what are other aspects of the syllabus you might, be developing simultaneously, like together with the grammar. You might teach other, like, with the grammar, let's say listening or speaking or whatever, okay? So when you plan the syllabus and you think about the lessons, so you might think about what are the topics, or you think regarding skills or activities. So it depends on how you plan it or map it as a planner or developer for a syllabus. Even the grammatical syllabus had some critiques. The disadvantages was, and the critiques, that grammatical syllabus only present part of the language proficiency, what is like, it's what the grammar. So they explain the grammar. They might, go through maybe the listening or the reading or the writing. It depends. So they only explain what? Grammar. So it's partial dimension of the language proficiency. In this type of syllabus, they don't think about, the natural way of acquiring the language and the sequence of that. They might focus only on sentences, so they teach you like, a sentence and the grammatical point. They might not think about, a longer like units or discourse and all that. They focus on the form, what is the grammatical rule, not the meaning. And usually they don't focus and address more of communicative skills. So this is what the critique. So the grammatical syllabus, the critique, and the disadvantage that, it's part of the language. It's not naturalistic acquisition. Focus on sentence level, not units. Focus on form, not meaning. Doesn't focus more on communicative skills. So that's just in general. So if we think about the grammatical syllabus as the way of teaching as a traditional grammar translation, if you remember it,